Very much hello, my friends. So today we're going to go from control to surrender. And I know I'm going to do this in probably about 10 minutes or so, but this was something that took me years to come to. And a lot of people I work with, over years that I've been working with people, this is one of the most challenging journey to take. So many of us have learned survival patterns. We learn to control situation, which we then manipulate situations so we can be safe, so that things turn out the way we would like. So I'm going to go through 3 steps with you that you can notice in your internal state, so you can identify where you are and how you can help yourself keep moving along. So first and foremost, why do we control? Why do we come to this idea that we need to control everything? Well, for the reasons that I already have stated. Most of us grow up in some form of, let's just say, unhealthy environments, whether it's a softer or harder form of abusive environments, manipulative environments, alcoholic parents, narcissistic parents, parents who are ignorant, who cannot be there emotionally for you, parents who are not physically present. And as children, as the wonderful way life is to protect us, as children, we learn coping mechanisms just so we get through life. And we don't only get this from our parents, then we get it in school also. Well, I must say, depending where you grow up in school. I grew up in Europe where children were together. It was children against the teachers. Children kind of understood each other. Then I came to the Americas, well, Northern America, and over here it was kids against kids, and then teachers. So if you grew up in an environment where also the kids were pitted against each other based on who's more popular, who has better clothes, who's prettier, then I feel for you. I have experienced that myself, and it just simply gives an extra layer of difficulty. So your system learns to protect you. And when you have an internal system, a mental image of yourself, a self-concept, where you feel like you have to brace for life the minute you step outside your door, well, then you will learn what you can do, what you can't do, where you're good at, where you're not good at, and you simply put yourself into that ring, into that box, into that limitation, so that you can control your feelings, your safety, and your environment. And this is the first part, that if we want to be free, we must give up. We must give up because we learned this in fear. And if you want to have a life that is in freedom, if you want to have a life that is in flow, in health and wealth and impact, then you must break out from your walls. So then, this will take you trusting. This is our second step, stepping into trust. And your system might say, well, how can I trust when all my life these are the things that I saw? And my system held me in there. It held me safe. It brought me to this point. But then the question I have for you, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you content with your life, with your relationships, with yourself, with the way you relate to yourself, with your body image, with how you communicate with yourself? And if any of those checked out as no, not really, then that constriction, that limitation that you have kept yourself in is now wanting to break out. So this is where we kind of like start to stretch, spiritually stretch, to expand through that box, that ring that we kind of grew around ourselves. And it can be frightening to trust, because your mind, the beautiful and wonderful protective mind, has learned to not trust. So what can you stand on to trust, right? Because if you step out of your box, it's like, what do you step on? What can you trust in? Yourself. But not just that conditioned self that learned to protect you, but the self, the higher self that is communicating to you, the higher self that brought you to this video, the higher self that is telling you there is better. There's got to be better. I know there's better. There is something better coming through from within. If you are a truth seeker, if you are a spiritual, I'm going to say entrepreneur, if you have a medicine that is coming through you, that you're bringing into the world, that voice, that gift is requiring you to expand. So it is requiring you to trust. Trust in something that you have not yet seen to step on. Let me give you a word of wisdom from the scripture. Proverbs 3.5. I want to put something in here. When I say I quote from the scripture, if your system accepts it, great. And even if your system accepts it, I would like you to look at it with new eyes. With new eyes, perhaps not from spiritual background, but how does this come into my body, into my system? And if you are opposed to ideas of religion, of the Bible, of God, of Christ, then I invite you as well to look at these words of wisdom. That is this something that feels true within me? Because I'm not simply stating things that a book says. I am saying things that we can find truth in, that we can find ourselves in it, and we can bring it into our bodies. Because ultimately that is how we change, right? We bring a wisdom through our minds and through our bodies, then through our language and through our actions. So Proverbs 3:5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Okay, you can say trust in life with all your heart. Trust in love with all your heart. Trust in the source of all that is with all your heart. Now, each of these words may come through differently. You know, I'm going to use the source of life. Can you trust in the source of life? Do you see around yourself that life ultimately thrives? Whatever happens, even if negative things happen, there will always be a renewal, a rebirth, a thriving. That's the nature of life. So when you allow yourself to kind of like stand under the law of life, you can see that everything that comes through you ultimately is for you to be in your best self. And what holds you back from that? Just about 100% is the limitation of your mind, is that ring, is that protective space that you have created for yourself. So when you open yourself up and you allow life to flow through a new way, you will start to see new doors opening, new shoots of life within you, new ideas, new relationships, new like inspirations of purpose coming your way. Also, the trust, building the inner knowing, Isaiah 30:21. This is the way, walk in it. Now, some people might say, well, that's kind of like, it can be cruel. And when you listen through your spiritual ears, this is the way, the truth of life, the prospering of life, the thriving of life, the perpetuation of life. Walk in it. In different words, this is saying, trust life, it will carry you. Okay? And then the third part, now that you're trusting and you're opening, then there is that surrendered step. Yes, just slightly different from trust. The frequency of trust and the frequency of surrender, just slightly different. And if you'd love to find out more about frequencies and how you clarify your frequencies and generate the frequencies that you'd love to create, then I invite you to check out my next workshop to solve, to traverse through, to open up, to resolve a sticking point in your life. You know, in the spiritual path, people get stuck in a spiritual wobble, or where their confidence is kind of intermittent, or, you know, low self-worth issues. So come check it out in the link when the next one is. You are very welcome to come in, because we go through this to where you can feel it and implement it in your life. So the frequency of surrender, you know, what does it look like in flow? In surrender, you're actually, like, your heart is open. Your nervous system is stable in knowing that you are trusting and receiving. And then as you receive what you're here to do, what your purpose is, what your next step is, whatever it is, you always receive it. Then you are taking your step in a responsive way, in a responsive action, instead of the reactive actions that used to be in the past. And when you take steps in a responsive way, that is empowering immediately. So all of these steps actually then cultivate you being stronger. Ultimately, it helps you become stronger within. It stabilizes you internally. It confirms that your trust is working, which then helps you think in bigger steps, which then helps you open yourself even more fully, because you start to see how life is holding you and carrying you. This is how you are able to walk into wealthier lifestyles and freer lifestyles, and completely stopping abusive treatments in your life, any even softer form of abusive relationships in your life, because you see it is working. But you see, you must take the first step. You must have the trust to take the first step. Anybody can give you a key, but if you do not put it in the lock and turn it, you cannot walk through the door. You know? And then as you do this, you realize that this is actually easeful, because everything is given to you. You're not doing this with effort. You are receiving in trust. You are surrendering in strength. And then you receive the support from the higher guidance, and then that shows up in the physical circumstances, like human beings. You know, how many times have you heard that this angel showed up in the form of, you know, this person, but they were right there exactly where I needed them to be, and they delivered to me what I was asking for. And when you start seeing that, oh, I get the chills, you start to see that you are living heaven on earth now. And it is up to you. It is you opening your heart. It is you trusting. And I'm going to leave you with one more wisdom, word of wisdom, Galatians 5:25. Let us keep in step with the Spirit, because we're not doing this alone. We are doing this with the help of the Spirit of life. I would love to hear what this opens up within you, how these steps help you trust life more. And I would absolutely love to see you in my next workshop. Come check out the link, sign up, and I will see you there. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe if you find this information useful. Share, let's grow this community. Let's let more and more people step into their truth, walk in the faith, in the spirit of their truth, because that is how we open our hearts. This is how we connect with people in the new way and create a stronger community. Because ultimately, isn't this what we want for our children and our children's children? By your decision, you are creating a legacy. I thank you, my friends. And also hit the bell button. That will notify you when the next transmission drops, because all these are heavenly guided to bring to you and to share with you.